You are most welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Real Impartation Moment on Tuesday Night Anatomy with Daniel Okwan. Today's section is going to be a quick meeting, yes, because I'm touching on only the neural crest cells. Last week when we met, we looked at neurulation. Mainly, we looked at the primary relation. We ended with, of course, secondary neurulation. Yes, my friends, those of you who have not watched any of the videos regarding, the embryology series by way of the developmental anatomy that we began, my friends, kindly get those video links and, of course, watch them. Because, my friends, the important thing that I want you to know is that whatever we'll be doing in subsequent meetings will be a build-up on previous concepts, which means that as a necessity, for instance, what we are going to do today, you need concepts from what we did last week. My friends, last week we got to know that, yes, getting the caudal or the terminal part of the third week of intrauterine life, we got to know that there was some kind of stimulus coming from, of course, the notochord. Yes, that rod-like structure, stimulating what we call that surface ectoderm immediately, overlying it, converting it, so that it will perforate and thicken to form what we call the neural plates. And I told you that importantly, the neural plate was made up of neuroectoderm. Why? The reason was that the remaining portion of the ectoderm, will get converted to become what we call the surface ectoderm. Yeah, that's what we looked at last week. My friends, we said that there was that kind of invagination of this neural plates, towards where we have the notochord, so that at the end of the day we had these kind of neural folds eventually forming the neural groove. But I told you one thing, that even on the crest of the fold, so that we can liken this crest as the junction between, of course, the neuroectoderm and, of course, the surface ectoderm. That junction, we had some population of cells over there, which we call the neural crest cells. And one important thing I told you was that just like the neural tube was formed, the neural crest cells also formed on either side of the neural tube. Now, the point that we established last week was that this neural tube, will be important in forming, of course, the central nervous system. And my friends, whenever we talk about central nervous system, we are talking about the brain and then, of course, the spinal cord. Last week, we looked at, of course, the vesicles, which will give rise to, of course, the brain, and, of course, the caudal region giving rise to, of course, the spinal cord. Talking about the 3 primary vesicles of the brain, eventually getting converted to become 5 secondary vesicles. So, my friends, kindly get those video links and, of course, watch them. Now, my friends, today we are looking at the neural crest cells. Now, the neural crest cells, because they form several structures which are of immense importance, for that reason, we regard the neural crest cells, as cells of the fourth germ layer. Already I've told you that we have 3 primary germ layers by way of the ectoderm, the mesoderm, the endoderm. But my friends, because the neural crest cells are contributing to important structures of the body that we cannot live without them, for that reason, we want to give it a special place, the 4th germ layer. That's what we see. And one thing I told you last week was that the neural crest cells were migratory cells. So one thing I want to put inside you right now is that unlike, the primary germ layers that we've seen, ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, which are stationary, giving rise to all these structures we are talking about, the neural crest cells, they are migratory cells. In other words, they will move cranially, they will move caudally, contributing to important structures in these areas. Last week, I also hinted you that we have derivatives of the neural crest cells, which we say they are neuronal, and we have also some of them which are mesenchymal, derivatives. But my friends, there is a simple mnemonic which will help us, and then I'll help you to identify that these are neural derivatives and these are mesenchymal derivatives. So that's what we are going to see. So we are looking at derivatives of the neural crest cells. and it's a very simple, pretty simple topic. Neural crest cells. Neural crest cells. Yes. Now, simple, there is a mnemonic for us which will help us, because at the end of the day, yes, sometimes we give students questions and they get confused, yes, with some of these things, where these neural crest cells, they are, where some, structures, okay, they are come from. And some of them get it confused, get some answers wrong. And today, by the end of this class, you should be able to tell me all those, derivatives which are of immense importance as far as neural crest cells are concerned. So simply, there's a mnemonic, and that is motel. Motel pass. So let me just go it this way, but I'll just do something. Motel pass. Yes. So my friends, having this one, you should be able to tell us all these important derivatives of the neural crest cells. So you can see over here the M, it means that the M over there, I have two entities over there, that's why I put 2 over there. So M to the first M that I want you to know is what we call melanocytes. Now melanocytes initially will come as melanoblasts. So melanoblasts, the precursor of the melanocyte, yes, is coming from neural crest cells. And whenever you talk about melanocytes, one important thing that you are aware is that they give that kind of pigmentation, yes, to your hair, okay, your skin, okay, the lens of your eye, okay. So they are coming from, of course, the neural crest cells. That's what I want you to know. It's a pigment epithelium, and it's coming from neural crest cell. Now, my friends, for this reason, what I want to tell you is that all pigment epithelium except retinal pigment, and of course retina itself, which will be coming from the neural tube or the neuroectoderm, all the other pigment epithelium, including this melanocyte, importantly, will be coming from neural crest cells. Yes. For this reason, if there's some kind of problem regarding the migration of the neural crest cells, either cranially or caudally, okay, the one which is destined to form, of course, this melanocyte, then you may have some kind of hypopigmentation, okay, either of the hair, of the lens, or of course your skin. Okay, that's what one thing I want you to know. Now, the next one that we want to look at is what we call myenteric. And of course, messiness. Nerve plexus. Okay, so now this melanocyte, so that will become, of course, mesenchymal derivative. Okay, mesenchymal derivative, by way of the melanocytes. By the case of the myenteric nerve plexus. Now, my friends, this one at least you know of it already. Now, the word my has to do with muscle. Okay, the prefix my has to do with, of course, muscle. So somewhere between, of course, the inner circular, outer longitudinal muscle layers of the organs of the postpharyngeal gut. Okay, so for instance, the stomach, the esophagus, the small large intestines. Okay, in between the inner circular, which are destined to form sphincters. Okay, helping also in some peristaltic movement. Okay, that of the and that of outer one third, very important in, of course, segmental contraction. Okay, somewhere between them, there's that kind of nerve plexus, and one of them, and that one is what we call myenteric nerve plexus. My friends, you will also be aware that this myenteric nerve plexus also has an eponym, and that is something we call orbix nerve plexus. Orbix. So if you don't see myenteric, you may see orbix nerve plexus, and this is the spelling of the orbix that I'm talking about. Orbix plexus. There's an arrow over here. So orbix plexus. Okay. and it's the same. That is the eponym to, of course, this myenteric nerve plexus, somewhere between the inner circular outer longitudinal, so that they can regulate the muscle contraction in there. Yes. So that is why sometimes we talk about, the gut brain. Yes, is one of them. And the other is what we call the Meissner's nerve plexus. Okay, and this Meissner's nerve plexus, because it's located in the submucosa of these organs of the postpharyngeal gut, those I've mentioned already. That is why this Meissner's plexus, there's an eponym, so it begins with capital M, Meissner's plexus. Simply, we will call it submucosal nerve plexus. Submucosal nerve plexus. So, my friends, these terms, I'm interested in telling you because you may need them. Submucosal nerve plexus. Okay, yes. So I want you to know that whenever we talk about these plexus, then I want you to remember these guys. Yes. Okay. Now the next one is an O. Now the O over here is what we call the cells. We call them odontoblasts. Odontoblasts. My friends, one thing I want you to know about cells of odontoblasts is that they are those cells which form the dentine of your tooth. Yes, if you look at the crown of the tooth, which of course we see the enamel there, the hardest substance in the human body, deep to it, when we take away the enamel, we will find, of course, the dentine. So the dentine cells, okay, the precursors, they are the odontoblasts. Yes. So if you don't see odontoblasts, you may see dentine, cells of the dentine. Yes. So let me put that one here, dentine cells. Now the next one is a T, and T is for tracheal cartilages. Now my friends, you know that yes, we have about 12 up to about 16 of these C-shaped incomplete rings of cartilages. Yes, and they are those guys that we call them tracheal cartilages. And these tracheal cartilages, yes, let me put that one here, tracheal cartilages, are also coming from, of course, this kind of neural crest cells. Now let me just put it inside you right now. Now these tracheal cartilages, these rings, and for that matter most of the cartilages in the head and neck region, which will be derived from the pharyngeal apparatus, pharyngeal arch. My friends, I've done the video. I'll do that one again on the whiteboard, but if you can go and get that video link and watch it, pharyngeal or bronchial apparatus, if you watch it, the arch, the mesoderm, okay, the cartilages, okay, in the head and neck region, coming from, of course, neural crest cells. So at this point, I want you to put down also that cartilages of the pharyngeal apparatus, yes, will be coming from, of course, the neural crest cells. Yes. So that is, one thing that I want you to know. So that if there's that kind of non-migration, then of course these cartilages, okay, they may not, yes, be able to, of course, come. I want to also say something. Now, normally you are aware that cartilages, okay, they are special kind of what? Connective tissue. Cartilages represent one of the specialized connective tissues. I'm sure you are aware of that. Yes, we also have bone, we also have blood. They are specialized. One of the reasons why they are specialized is that they are avascular. Yes, we've seen those things already. But the point here is that we told you that connective tissues, whether it's specialized or whatever, will be coming from, of course, connective tissue mesenchyme. And that mesenchyme, yes, is mesodermal in origin already. We've seen the 3 germ layers. We've seen, of course, the ectoderm, the mesoderm, the endoderm. But we are talking about the 4 germ layer here. And we are saying that the tracheal cartilages, and this cartilage is also mesoderm, but it's come from neural crest cell. For this reason, one thing I want you to put down over here is that any mesoderm coming outside the mesoderm of the 3 germ layers we've seen already, the mesoderm proper, which I could call it the primary mesoderm, my friends, this guy over here, the mesoderm coming from neural crest cell, will be secondary mesoderm. Secondary mesoderm. So for this reason, yes, the cartilage which will be giving rise to these tracheal cartilages coming from, of course, these neural crest cells will be secondary mesoderm. Yes. Now, my friends, if you can see the E, yes, I've made it in lowercase. The reason is that it is not of immense importance to me right now. But I've seen it somewhere where they will put this one over there, where they will put enteroendocrine cells. Enteroendocrine cells. Let me make enterochromaffin. Yes, it's one of those enteroendocrine cells. But let me just put it. So make it enterochromaffin cells. My friends, no. That's why I put it in red. Enterochromaffin cells. Yes, in the wall of the GIT, we have these guys there. Okay, which are some examples of apute cells. Okay, amine precursor uptake decarboxylase cells. Okay, no. These ones, they don't arise from neural crest cells. So I want you to put this cross sign over there. No, rather, those cells which will arise from neural crest cells, they are what we call the chromaffin cells. Chromaffins, and not enterochromaffin cells. No, they are two different things altogether. These chromaffin cells, okay, like they are cells, okay, but one thing is that we find them in the adrenal medulla, which I'll come to. A very important adrenal medulla, because in the adrenal medulla over there we have these chromaffin cells which represent post-ganglionic sympathetic neurons which have lost their axons. So we have only their cell bodies in there, and they are the chromaffin cells. Because of that kind of staining reaction, okay, staining with, of course, these kind of dichromate, salts, okay, turn them into brown. So for this reason, because they are able to reduce them, okay, or because that stain is able to oxidize these guys, because they contain this kind of catecholamines, okay, oxidize them to that brown color. That reaction is what we call chromaffin reaction. For that reason, those cells, we want to call them, chromaffin cells or chromaffin-like cells, okay, and not chromaffin cells, which are in the wall of the GIT, for instance. Now, the next one is something we call laryngeal cartilages. Laryngeal cartilages. My friends, I don't need to stress this on this one again. Yes, the reason is that, just like the tracheal cartilages, the laryngeal cartilages, they are also derived from, of course, the bronchial apparatus, secondary mesenchyme. Now, if I come here, the P I'm having two. The first P is parafollicular C cells. Parafollicular. So parafollicular. Okay, we also have pia mater. I'll come to it. Now, if we have parafollicular C cells, parafollicular. Now, you know that in the adrenal gland, there are some cells which form the follicles, the epithelium, which form the follicle. So those follicular cells, which normally, yes, they are simple cuboidal in nature, which will be relevant in secretion of colloid. Okay, that eosinophilic, entity rich in thyroglobulins, precursor to, of course, the thyroid hormones. And whenever we talk about important thyroid hormones, we are talking about T3 and T4. The T3 triiodothyronine, and of course T4 tetraiodothyronine, commonly called thyroxine. They will be produced by the normal epithelial cells, okay, which form the follicles of the thyroid gland. But adjacent, just in between the follicles, these follicular cells, okay, what we find is that we find these cells which we call the parafollicular C cells. My friends, these guys have done it in that kind of endocrine okay, organ. As I've explained all those things, the nature, how these cells appear like, we've explained all those things there. But now we want to see the cells. Where do they arise from? Okay, that's what we are looking at. So these parafollicular C cells, my friends, one thing I want you to know is that these parafollicular C cells, in older concepts, which I know people still teach it, and I want to take that one out of your head. Yes, usually they will say that these parafollicular cells or the C cells. Now, some people think the C cell, yes, because the cytoplasm of these cells are relatively clear, so the C can represent clear. Some people think that because of the products they make what they call calcitonin, okay, or thyrocalcitonin, which will be relevant in, of course, reducing the blood calcium level through several mechanisms, okay. For instance, minimizing reabsorption of calcium from ultrafiltrate of the blood destined to become urine, okay. For instance, minimizing absorption of calcium from a diet, okay. For instance, minimizing osteoclast activity, okay, in the bone, okay. So these are some of the things. But what I'm trying to say is that these parafollicular C cells, the older concept is that they arise from something we call ultimobranchial bodies. Ultimo, okay, which I'm saying that is not correct. So let me use red to show that ultimobranchial bodies. Okay, ultimobranchial body. Yes, in the pharyngeal arch, the last structure to form is what we call ultimo. Ultimate has to do with the last one. Ultimobranchial body or ultimopharyngeal body. Okay, that is what we see. But my friends, one thing is that it's not true. The reason is that I told you that these neural crest cells, they are migratory cells. Migratory. So for that reason, they will migrate everywhere. They will migrate, okay, and then they will come. So the neural crest cells will migrate, okay, all the way from here. These cells, they will migrate, come in this ultimobranchial body, and then give rise to the parafollicular C cells. Now, these are the things I always talk about. If you are the one hosting me to do something, it does not mean that you did it for me. Yes, that's one thing I want you to know. So that is it. Now the next one is what we call the pia mater. Pia mater. Now pia mater is one of what we call the leptomeninges. Leptomeninges. Now for that reason, let me put the next one over here so that I'll explain that one to you. Now the A over here, I have three entities. But the first one I want you to know is arachnoid. Arachnoid matter. Now remember that the T is just one T. Unlike, of course, the gray matter we talk about, which will be, there will be two T's in there. And then, of course, the white matter, there will be two T's. But in the case of the meninges, we are talking about meninges, is one T. Now remember that these two guys over here, they represent what we call the thin meninges. Thin meninges. Now remember that we have dura mater. Okay, dura mater. Okay, is what we call pachymeninx. Pachymeninx. No, that one is not coming from what we call neural crest cells. But these guys over here, by way of the pia mater and arachnoid mater, which are what we call the thin meninges, which we also call them leptomeninges. Leptomeninges, okay, will arise from, of course, the neural crest cells. Yes, that's one thing I want you to know. Now, let me be quick and tell you something. The adrenal medulla. Let me tell you that one. Adrenal medulla. Already, we've seen something about it. Adrenal medulla. I told you about those cells over here. The chromaffin cells of the adrenal medulla, not the adrenal cortex. Now remember, the adrenal gland has dual origin. Yes, one of them, the medulla, is coming from the neural crest cells, but the cortex, okay, and that is why this one will be making rather catecholamines by way of the adrenaline or the epinephrine, noradrenaline or the norepinephrine, of course, dopamine. Okay, they will be making it in the adrenal medulla, mediating the system of 3 F's: fight, flight, and flee. Yes, that's what we see. But in the case of the adrenal cortex, because it will be coming from intermediate mesoderm, primary mesoderm, by way of the mesoderm proper I'm talking about, for that reason, that one will be relevant in making, of course, steroid hormones. Okay, so the adrenal, I'm talking about adrenal medulla, coming from, of course, the neural crest cells. Okay, the chromaffin cells we mentioned over here. Now, we don't also need to forget to remember that all ganglia, now that's a very big statement, all ganglia. Now remember that the singular form of ganglia is, of course, ganglion. Now, all ganglia, okay, so for instance, the neural crest cells at the caudal region, okay, will be related, okay, forming respect to, of course, the spinal cord. So they will form something called dorsal root ganglia of the spinal nerves. So the dorsal root ganglia, okay, so for instance, dorsal root ganglia, okay, the neural crest cells at the caudal region will be forming something like dorsal root ganglia. Now, don't forget that in this dorsal root ganglia, we have pseudo unipolar neurons, or simply unipolar neurons. That is why don't be surprised that in your exam you may also see unipolar or pseudo unipolar neurons. Yes, they will also arise from, of course, neural crest cells. But I don't need to rest over there. The neural crest cells in the cranial region will be relevant in forming of all these sensory ganglia of some of these cranial nerves. So for instance, sensory ganglia of cranial nerve 5, okay, cranial nerve, nerve 7, nerve 9, okay, nerve 10, okay, like these ones, they will be arising from these, cells of course, the neural crest. That's one thing I want you to know. All ganglia. Because at the end of the day, if we say nuclei, collection of cell bodies in the CNS, but anything related to the peripheral nervous system, think of neural crest cells. Yes, that's one thing I want you to know. So whenever you get neural crest cell question, okay, just think through it. Is it come from peripheral nervous system? And you get an idea, okay, to look at the answer. Well, one thing too that we may add with the A is that sometimes we also say adipocytes. Some adipocytes, okay, will be coming from, of course, these kind of neural crest cells. Okay, so that's one thing too that I want you to know. Now the S over here, now you see I have two S. I've intentionally separated them into two. The S, the first thing I want you to know, the S, we will talk about the Schwann cells. And then there's another S I want you to write, and that's also satellite cells. Now, don't forget this one I've treated with you when we looked at, of course, the nervous tissue. The part 2 of nervous tissue that I've done with you. If you've not watched it, kindly go there, where I explained the cells doing the myelination for, of course, the peripheral nervous by way of course, the Schwann cells. That the eponym starts with someone's name, begins with a capital letter. And also, we talk about cell-like cells. Cell-like cells, okay, wrapping around these kind of, ganglia. Okay, I also told you that these cell-like cells, they will be important. Their functions can be likened to that we see for astrocytes in, of course, the CNS. Okay, so we talked about it, okay, checking, of course, the ion, the nutrient content, okay, around the cells over there. So kindly get those video links and, of course, watch them. Okay, so anything about the peripheral nervous system, think about, of course, the neural crest cells. Because, for instance, these things by way of the astrocytes, okay, by way of course, the oligodendroglia or oligodendrocytes, think about them in, of course, the neuroectoderm, forming the neural tube. Yes, think about that one. Yes. So for this reason, if someone is suffering from, let's say, deficiency of myelination of these nerves of the PNS, then you know there's problem with the migration of neural crest cells, okay, to these neurons. That's what will manifest. Yes. Now there's one important S that I've left over here. The S over here, very important for me. And my friends, put down over there septum. And my friends, I'm not talking about ordinary septa, connective septa. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some important septa of the heart. Yes, very important for me. Some important septa of the heart. Now, some of these questions, they come in exam and students get confused. They are unable to answer. For this reason, let me just clean this one. I've put red over here and then put down something over there for you. And so the septa that I'm talking about, I am interested in the septum, which will separate the outflowing portions of the ventricles. Now, I've done these videos, okay? I mean, if you watch them, you understand these things. The outflowing portions, which are smooth, they don't have trabeculae carni, no. The smooth outflowing portions of these ventricles, the right and left ventricles, they are separated by a septum, what you call it bulbar septum. So my friends, put the first septum down. So the septum I'm talking about bulbar septum, separating the smooth outflowing portions of the right and left ventricles. Now, again, you know that these outflowing, portions of the ventricles are leading into some great vessels. They are taking the blood out. So, for instance, through the right ventricle, the blood will be taken through what we call the pulmonary trunk. Again, through, of course, the left ventricle, blood will be taken out of the heart, this time through, of course, the ascending aorta. Yes. Now, these two septa together, okay, separating them, there will be a septum separating them. And that is why that septum will be called aortico-pulmonary septum. Aortico-pulmonary septum. Yeah, let me put that one down. Aortico. But my friends, there's another name for it. Because at the end of the day, this aortico-pulmonary septum is very simple. Yes, you can think through it. This septum will have to spiral. Yes, there's some kind of spiraling course that the septum takes. For this reason, this septum is given a peculiar name, the spiral septum. So whenever you talk about spiral septum, think of aortico, spiral septum. Think of the aortico-pulmonary septum. Yes. One thing very important that I want you to know. Now, together, the bulbar septum, the aortico-pulmonary septum, of the spiral septum, together will be called conotruncal septum. Yes. So that's one thing I want you to know. Now, the reason is that the smooth outflowing portions of these ventricles, right, and left ventricles, that's the conus. Conus part of these ventricles. So conus. And then initially, what we call the ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk were together. And the name of it, the cranialmost part of the heart tube, was called truncus arteriosus. Truncus arteriosus. So if you have a septum which you want to combine between, of course, the bulbar septum and, of course, aortico-pulmonary, put them together, then the name will be conotruncal septum. So you understand why. So in your exam, if you see conotruncal septum, then think about, of course, the fact that they are formed from cells of the neural crest. Now, here's one thing which I want to tell you. Sometimes your exam, you may see endocardial questions. Endocardial questions. Now, the endocardial questions, yes, we have some formed by different things. But those ones which are formed by the neural crest cells, will migrate and then come and form these two septa I'm talking about. Bulbar septa or septum, and of course the aorticopulmonary septum by way of the spinal septum. That's what we are talking about. Yes. For this reason again, if someone is having that kind of lacking that kind of migration, okay, of those cells over here, then the person may have some kind of septal issues. Bulbar septum, aorticopulmonary septum. Yes, these are the things that the person will be experiencing. And the person is most likely to die out of cardiovascular issue. And there's one pathology, okay, one syndrome I want to tell you. It's a whole syndrome having several things. DiGeorge syndrome. DiGeorge syndrome. DiGeorge syndrome. Now, for DiGeorge syndrome, okay, you may have issues related with the formation of the face, some intellectual issues, okay. The person may not be, very intelligent, malformation of the face, okay. There are those things which are present, okay. The person may also have deficiency, okay, in fighting, infection, because at the end of the day, maturation of T cells will not be possible because of hypodevelopment or underdevelopment, of course, the thymus. Okay, and for that reason also we also talk about, of course, the parathyroid glands. Okay, so the person will be having difficulty fighting infections. Not only that, the person will also be having some kind of calcemia, because at the end of the day, the parathyroid glands are supposed to ensure that blood calcium level is okay. Okay, there will be that kind of problems. But importantly, what I'm interested in as far as the neural crest cells are concerned is that these ones, they are supposed to migrate, okay, forming this kind of septa. And that is why the person may have transposition of great vessels. Why? Because at the end of the day, this spiral septum will ensure that the ascending aorta and of course pulmonary trunk, they are in their normal positions. So otherwise, there's going to be that kind of transposition if no spiraling of the septum takes place. Yeah, not only that, even tetralogy of Fallow, which I've done it in my video. Okay, so kindly get those video links, okay, then watch it. Okay, tetralogy of Fallow, that one is also there. Okay, so that is, one useful thing that I want you to, be aware of. So, so if something like this kind of DiGeorge syndrome, okay, person will likely going to die out of septal issue, okay, cardiovascular issue. So my friends, today we run through what you need to know regarding the neural crest cells. So as I said, if you hear of endocardial quiescence, okay, the cranial portion of these endocardial quiescence, which will be forming the bulbar septum, and of course the aorticopulmonary septum, the spiral septum, my friends, we are talking about the same thing. I'm very grateful for your time this evening. Have a good night, all of you. And may the good Lord richly bless you. Amen.